Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome to a look at the new Infinity, a little chat about the old one. Way back we're going to the old Evo, we're going to go to the new one, we're going to look at the Ultra, and I'm going to give you my experiences on all three of these new releases that have come out from H&S in 2024, because I can give you an honest opinion on airbrush experience and with other brushes, and the changes that I've seen in them that the beginner might not see, the intermediate might not see. I think it's only the experienced artists that pick the new range up can give you the honest opinion, because they can relate back to the beginner, they can relate back to the intermediate level that they were at. And now they can sort of move over and show you like the detail side of things, and then you can go, this is why this brush is good and this is why I'd recommend it. So we'll go back to the beginning of the year and H&S released the Ultra. Now, my background from when I started has been sort of H&S, 13 years in with their brushes, and then sort of went off, done other bits, and then came sort of back round. So this is where I am in 2024 on the new one. So I know the old brushes, I know what they're about. I know a lot of brushes because I've experienced them. This is the experience you get later on in your career. So the Ultra 2024 new brush. Now this is when it was sort of 2024 beginning that sort of got in contact with H&S, and I've been doing some work with them, being able to test the brushes so I can give you my sort of opinions on them and why I think they're just awesome in 2024. So Warwick sent the Ultra out and said, test it, give me your opinions, your thoughts. This is a beginner's brush, this is the new Ultra we're releasing, and it's coming in for like beginners, sort of teach them. Tell me your thoughts on the brush. So gets the brush, instantly picks it up and thought, crikey, the build quality on these and the finishes are better, because I'm thinking of the older ones. I thought, yeah, that's a big change. I never had the original Ultra, so I couldn't put it against the original to experience it, but I could put it against the old Ultras, like the Evo is what I've got. So I could put the sort of body and finish design up to that, and I thought, yeah, the chrome plate's way better for one. So I've ticked that. Then I went to the front end and I thought, yeah, I can see why they've done that. It's like to protect the needle, because when you're a beginner, if you was using another brush with the cap off, you'd bang it into the work. It's guaranteed, because you've not learned your distances on going in and up and down and staring from one piece to the other. You can suddenly go like that and you bang and you're into it and you dent your needle. So I thought, yeah, the changes in that, the air cap design's changed, cup, easy access to the top, just pull it off. Thought, yeah, that's really cool for a beginner, because it's just easy, you just push it on. You're not going to unscrew it. It's simplicity with the brush. Then I clocked the sleeve settings on the back and I thought, well, what's this then? So I'm going through this, I thought, oh, I like that. You instantly move it and you've got that nice click. You've got that nice feel and slide, it clicks into place. So you've got base, primer, full trigger, 1, 2 and 3. So went through them, did all the tests on it, messaged Warwick and I went, you do realise you've created an absolute weapon there. I says, because the first thing I tested with it was what it could do on detail, because I'm so used in my career going in on detail and stuff. I thought, right, I'm going to see what this 045 can do on detail, dialed in with my paints. And I could get lines down like a micron and an infinity with it, and I was like blown away for a 045, being experienced on what I could make it do. But then I could feel the changes that they've made and why it's a beginner's brush, because for me, working the trigger, I've mastered the trigger movement over the years. For a beginner, they haven't. So they always say you need that muscle memory. Now, the beginners out there that have picked the Ultra up and they work it for an hour and they come out their studio and go, cool, I don't like that brush. my finger's aching. I can feel I'm aching. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's what that brush is doing, the correct thing for you. It's making your finger ache. And you may think, well, why? Well, it's like if you go to the gym and you work weights for the first time, you come out of the gym, you feel great. The next day, you're like, oh my God, I can't move. I'm aching. It's because you're using muscles that you've not worked like that before, so they ache. Same thing goes to that when you pick it up and work it for ages, because you're a beginner, you've not done this movement before, and hours and hours and hours of it with something that's giving you that resistance to make your finger ache. So after an hour of use, you go, but you're building up that memory and that muscle that you've not worked before. So then months and months and months go by and the ache goes, you don't get it. And then you sit with this brush and it's like, yeah. So that's the experience I get from it. When I sit with it being experienced, I can make this thing sing and dance. I really can. It's phenomenal. And I don't get that achy feeling because I've got that memory in the finger. I've built up the muscle to move that movement over the years, and it's like, yeah, I can see why they did that. So I messaged Warwick back and said, brilliant, absolutely brilliant brush for the beginner. And that's why I pushed the Ultra, because I thought this is what the beginners need. They need that teaching you how to get on with an airbrush. And they're solid, they really are. Warwick drove a car over it. It's a solid brush. So that's why I say 2024, they smashed it with the Ultra. So then the next release comes out, which is the Evolution. So I thought, ooh. So Warwick messaged me and says, come over to the studio. You can be part of the, I want your thoughts and feedback on the Evolution. So I thought, right. I've had the original for years. I know the Evo. It's like, yeah, I sat with it for years and years and years. I know it. Let's see what changes they've got with this. So I went over to the studio and there was me, the miniature painter, Andy Wardle was there, who can paint. You know, we all know him with miniatures. He can paint. So he gave us an Evo each. And this video's over on H&S, and Warwick sort of went, there you go, Rob, and sort of went like that. And I sort of like get it out of the box like a kid with a new toy. I thought, right, Evo, click, put the airline in, paint, and I took some Createx illustration over. I took a few brands of the paint I use from thicker to thinner to test it. Createx illustration, straight in, 0.28mm setup on the Evo, plugged it in. I thought, right, straight in on detail. So crown cap, the prong cap off, and I went boom, straight down and straight in, because I know my Evolution, I think the Evo can speed you up, which it does. Even the old one does, coming from, well, I can't really relate it to the Ultra, the original Ultra, but I find the Evo is a quick brush. You can paint with it quick. When I picked that up, so I've gone vroom, straight in on detail, and I've gone like that and looked across at Warwick, and Warwick's just like, what do you think? And I'm like, you've done it again. You've done it again for 2024. You've created an absolute weapon when it comes to what it can do. Fast, ridiculously comfortable, guys. If you know the original Evo, that one that's got like the little button trigger like the Infinity, the older Infinity, the feeling I get with the old Evo with that trigger is it's too small. It's thin and too small, and you've got like the hot little half moon. So a lot of guys have got bigger pads. That I always say that is like a female's trigger top. Is brilliant for a female because they've got a slimmer, more sort of not as wide and flat finger. So when they put it on the top, their finger, when they're pressed down, it doesn't sort of go over the edges. The pad of your finger doesn't go over the edges. With a bloke's finger, you press down on this, and when you look up through the brush like there and you press down, you got the edges of your finger pad just roll over the edge of the trigger. And when you're pressing down on the center of that pad all the time, and that excess of finger is going over the edges. So it feels quite pinchy around that top sort of rim. It feels pinchy when you press down. So I noticed that straight away when I picked the brush up. I thought, oh, the new trigger top's perfect. Same design, wider, thicker, and it's got more of a rolled and comfortable edge around here. So when you put your finger on it, your finger doesn't go over the edges. It just sits so comfortable over the top. It's silky smooth, the top of this is. Even though you've got your ridges in there, you think, oh, that's going to be uncomfortable. It's not, because when you put your finger on the top, your pad just fits perfectly on the top. So very comfortable. So this brush for long periods of time, this brush just eats the time away. It's weird to explain, because you've got a really comfortable trigger, so you don't realise that when you're painting with it, it's instantly comfortable. So you're painting, and this brush speeds you up. You've got the 028, which gets ridiculously down on detail, guys. It really does. If you put the 045 in it, you want to speed this brush up. Put the 045 in it. It will hit the same details as the 028, but speeds you up in your painting. So if you're working something big and you're on a deadline and you want to speed yourself up, Evo, drop the painting, smash the bigger cup on it, drop the painting, clip your lid on, and you're away. You'll paint quick. It's a very quick brush to paint with. So I picked up on that straight away. And you've got your new thingies on. That was the first thing I picked up on, how it sprayed, trigger top. I thought, you've done it again. And I didn't even look at the other bits that they've done. That was enough for me. The changes here was enough with that brush. And then he says, no, you've got this bit on the back where you can quickly dial in this now. And I was like, yeah, you've done it again. You've smashed the intermediate for a brush. You really have, for what it can do. Because I'm coming from an experienced background, looking back at these brushes and the changes. As I say, the beginner won't know what the Ultra's about, because he's not got the experience behind it. All he's getting is that my finger's aching. And I'm thinking, yeah, it's doing the correct thing. Drop me a comment in 6 months and go, yeah, the finger aching stopped, Rob. This brush is phenomenal. It's because you've got the muscle memory. You've worked out with the brush. Job done. Then when you move on to the Evo, I'd instantly turn around and say, what do you think to the trigger design to the top? Really comfortable in it. It just doesn't feel like you're putting your finger on the pad of a brush. And it's silky smooth, and it's speeding you up. Did you drop the 4.5 in it? Did you see the bang, let's go, and we're painting? Yeah, I experienced that. I went, well, there you go. That's what that is doing for you. And then when you pick the Infinity up, Warwick sent me a message and went, it was just a box, and it had me address on it. And the comment was, it's on its way, brother. And I'm like, oh, crikey, here we go. The Infinity's, it's been sent out. And this is why I've had it 3 weeks before, to test it for you guys. So I gets it, and I ran straight up to the studio like a kid running into a sweet shop, flicked the compressor on, didn't even give the compressor time to fill the tank up. I just clicked it on, plugged the brush in, chucked my FW inks down it, turned the easel light on, put a piece of paper and went boom, straight up, ridiculously down on detail straight away. 20 seconds on the brush, put the brush down, ran to Warwick and went, you've done it again. I went, just 5 minutes on that brush, on what it can do, because everyone's going to be thinking it's detail, you know. And this thing was like, I mean, I thought the Evo was good. I mean, that's phenomenal. When you pick that up, you've got, if you're comparing it to that, Yeah, the Evo. Because people have got the Evo. They're on the intermediate. They've brought the Evo. They're loving it. Do I need another brush? You know. If you want to know what that feels like compared to the Evo. Now, the release on this is, I'm trying to describe it out. You've got adjustment here, which is a big thing, I think, on a detail brush, the adjustment here, because then you can dial in this, how this feels. On the Evo, it's a set, so they've set it to be a little bit smoother and softer than the Ultra, because you want the Ultra to be, give you some feedback, build your muscle up in your hand so you don't, you know. So the Evo's been set at a certain tension, and you can't adjust that. That's like set, which is a nice set, I think, on that speed jaw. It's just enough. It's got that little bit of resistance just so you feel it, and you can just get that nice feathery movement on the trigger. I can hit it with that. It's lovely. With this, you can then fine tune it here. You can dial this in, and it's a different spring as well from the Evo. So it's a set tension on the off, and then you can adjust the tension here to get this thing to sing and dance like you wouldn't believe when you put the right paint in it. And you can get it to literally, you've not got to go fully down on the air. You can get it so you can just bring the air on soft, and then you can just, it's like you're rotating it and just pulsing it like that on the trigger. So that's how good this brush is compared to going from the Evo. The Evo, I can do it with the Evo, the same sort of techniques I can do with this, but you can do it with this brush easier. The next thing you feel with this, with the Infinity, is when you go up to the paper and so you've got that down with your trigger, you can feel that real soft pulsing. And then when you go up, I think this is shorter, about the same. No, it is a little bit shorter. It's a little bit shorter than the Evo in the body length at the front. So it takes you that little bit closer. It sort of brings you and submerges you into the work a little bit more. So you'll experience that. So you feel this, you can get that real soft pulse on the trigger, brings you in closer. And it's the way it delivers with the titanium nozzle. If you look at the titanium nozzle and look at the older nozzle sort of got smooth sides and then goes down to the point at the front as you push it in. The new design on the titanium one, you'll notice it's got a real like sort of scallop cut in it, and then there's some lines that go through it, and that's to direct the air. As that air is coming down the body and it comes sort of out and down where the nozzle is and then comes out the front, it's how they've designed that, the opening, and with the needle set up in the front. It's just completely different, guys. I can get the Evo to do what this can do, getting down on the reel, but I find that just does it a lot easier. It's the next step up, and that's what you'll experience with the new Infinity. You know, I can get the other brushes to achieve it. I can get the Ultra to achieve ridiculously down on detail, but that was designed for that, and you can feel the difference in that. It's just easier to achieve it with that, and it's more comfortable to achieve it with it. So like I say, I can get the Ultra to get down ridiculously down on detail, but for me, because it's got the tension in the spring, for me to sit comfortably, I need that more adjustment in that trigger, and that's what that's got. You can adjust it right down. So you progress up the brushes. So when I said to Warwick, I went, you've done it again, you know, smashed it again for a detail brush. And it boils down to, I always say, what you're getting for the money. Now, the H&S's, I think, have always been a really good price on the brushes. They really have. For what you're getting, the quality of them, you will not beat it. I've had cameras down these. I've had miniature cameras. I've took the bodies off these and put a miniature micro camera that goes down inside the brush, so it shows you the machining and the precision that these guys at H&S can get their brushes down to. And it's like, they're flawless, guys. They're flawless on the inside and out, you know. They're just quality, and they're going to last you, because I've got one that's still along the journey now. The old girl's still going, you know. I used it the other day on a portrait, the old Evo, and it was great to pick up, to just go back to that, because then you just instantly pick that brush up, and because you've had that brush in your hand for all them years, you pick it up, it's that, it takes you back. And I think that when you got the old brush and you pick it up and you got that memory flood back of when you painted whatever, or the reason why you got it, that's worth its money all day long, isn't it? You know. So yeah, brilliant lineup for 2024. If you are coming into the airbrush journey, you're going to love it. You really are. I wish I could have started my career here now, coming up these, because it would have been even easier for me then. You know, I mean, it was easy from the start for me, coming up the brush line that I did, because I started off on sort of the Focus, nipped over to an Aerograph Super 63, and then had the Evolution. Worked up with the Evolution, jumped on the Infinity, and then got the brushes along the way. But yeah, if I was starting out 2024, that one, finish on that one, job done. All three will be with you for life, and you will be passing them down to your siblings, going, be like, Grandad used to paint with this. Look at the condition of it, Mum, it's immaculate. Grandad looked after his brushes, didn't he? And it's like, yeah. I'm thinking, no, H&S build them right. You know, they'll be with you forever, because they're just solid. So, I hope you've enjoyed the video on a look at the H&S range, because, you know, they're just great. I'll leave a link in the description to the new Infinity. It will take you over to the website, and you'll get to see, there's a big write-up, tells you all the specs and things like that. But I've told you my experience. It's the experience that you need. It's that knowledge of the experience that you lot need to hear about. And it just reassures you that when you're going out there, you're not buying garbage, you're buying something quality that will last. And then you'll pop a comment up and go, thank you for pointing me in the right direction. I spent my money wisely. And I'm 4 years down the line, and the brush is mint and still performs the way it did out the box. Thank you very much for your advice. And that's what it's about, you know, honest opinions. My honest opinion on a brush, because I've experienced it, you know. I'm in my 50s. I'm not someone newbie on the street going, you know, been there, done that, seen it, got the t-shirt. Enough said. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.